welcome. We are the largest tokenomics-focused community on the web. We mostly hang out here on Twitter and on Discord. We have a Substack with, 1,200 subscribers. We publish usually twice a month these Tokenomics 101 articles that are really kind of deep dives into different protocols. That is the engine that drives us. That's the first thing that we started doing, and the whole community kind of formed around that. And so now we have awesome contributors like Ariel, who's going to talk to you here in a second, who do these analysis, write these articles, which is quite a bit of work. Usually takes at least like 20 to 40 hours to do that. And all this to help share tokenomics knowledge with the world. We started this about a year ago, pretty exactly a year ago, and the DAO has grown to like 2,400 people on Discord. We have like 20 or 30 contributors, maybe 10 that are really active. We do tokenomics consulting, and but the most interesting thing I think that we do is we try to create tools and products to help everybody understand tokenomics better and to build your tokenomics or analyze your tokenomics of projects if you're not a builder, but if you're an investor. And so for that, we've created the tokenomics design framework. You can find all these things on the link tree in our profile, and the tokenomics hub most recently. Tokenomics hub is like our biggest project. We're trying to kind of build a SaaS platform for everybody to collaborate on tokenomics. So yeah, go check that out for sure. It's still small, but that means there is probably alpha in being early to the platform. And if you're a builder and you want to get your protocol listed, let us know, because we're trying to grow it. We're trying to get to 100 protocols as fast as we can. And yeah, awesome. All right, Ariel. So now the stage is yours. Enlighten us about the BAT token.
Thanks for the intro, Lovis. So let's get started. This community call is about the Brave browser and their token, which is the basic attention token. So going through the agenda, we're going to first talk about what is Brave, then what is BAT, their token, then talk a little bit about their tokenomics. Then also want to talk about a little bit about the BAT liquidity, which is a bit of an issue for this particular token. Then we go through value creation and value capture, and then we have some time for a Q&A at the end. So what is Brave? I think, if I could summarize what Brave is about in one sentence, it's probably about privacy. That's a big concern that the team had while they were building their protocol, and so their vision is really to oppose and kind of also to change the paradigm of how browsers and apps in general use user data to sell you advertising, and how that's so it's an invasive model, and it's a model that is kind of going into a crisis right now, I guess we could say. So, Brave browser, it is a Web3 browser, so it has a lot of native capabilities that help users to navigate through Web3 dApps, for example. They offer a native wallet, which is the Brave wallet. They have unstoppable domains integration, so you can easily go into their websites that are listed in those domains. And besides those Web3 focused capabilities, it also has a lot of cool features. Like it has a native ad blocker, which is just great. You don't have to download anything. It has the Brave Talk, which is similar to Google Meet. It has Brave Search also, so they are building quite an impressive product stack, and you can do almost everything in their browser. And I don't know if you guys are seeing the visuals, but I also included a table that is listed in their homepage, which is a comparison between Brave, Firefox, Safari, and Google Chrome. And it tells you a bit about, the, I think, enhancements that Brave has brought to to browsers in general. So, the ad, a lot of ad blocking, as I mentioned, and they also say they have malware and phishing protection, which Google Chrome also seems to have, and protection against bounce tracking, and they have an anonymized network routing, which they call Tor mode. I haven't used that, but if you know how to, it seems like a pretty cool feature to navigate anonymously. So, as I mentioned in the beginning, they have a really big concern about privacy. I don't know if you want to synthesize this, Lovis, or I can go on to the next slide.
Yeah, sure. So basically, Brave is what is Brave? Is it a foundation? Is it a company? Do you know?
It is a company. It's Brave Software Inc.
Okay, Brave Software Inc.
Actually, the founder is Brendan Eich, which founded Mozilla or Firefox or something like that.
That's right. That's right. Does Firefox, and then I think they went separate ways, and so he launched Brave. And yeah, what's kind of neat, and so I've been using Brave for a long time, and I didn't even quite realize that it has that the BAT token, the basic attention token, is so integrated in it. But then what's cool is actually when you try to switch from one computer to another, you actually use a wallet to do that. So basically all your user info that's kind of like password saved in your browser or something is actually attached to the wallet. So that's the first time when I noticed it. So that's a really cool way to kind of aggregate to make this product more useful, but keep everything super private. So I think that's what it's all about, basically, right? It's about privacy on the internet, but still have amazing usability. So yeah, cool. Thank you. Go for it.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks for the summary. Now going to the BAT token, and BAT stands for Basic Attention Token. And its main use is to reward user attention. So that when I was talking about a new paradigm for advertisement and user attention, that's really centered around the BAT token. To earn BAT, what you need to do is that you enable ads in your Brave browser, and those aren't the usual ads that you'd see, but those are Brave's private ads, which is slightly different. First, you see them in specific places like the new tab page, or a pop-up can come in from time to time. And also if you use Brave News, then you're gonna see some ads there. But the way that they deliver ads is different, because all your data is stored locally in your browser, and they don't really have access to that data. They use their machine learning model to kind of figure out which ads to show you at a given time, but they are not actually collecting your data. So that's a huge difference from just everything else that you see in the advertisement industry, especially in Web 2. And on top of that, the ads are opted out as a standard whenever you install the Brave browser. So you have to make the choice to opt in, and that may seem like a small thing, but it has some interesting results. And I think first, from a kind of psychological perspective, I think there's a lot of research that shows how it is kind of harder for people to opt in to something. Like if you want everyone to opt in, then you should leave an option to opt out, because much lesser people will opt out versus just doing whatever the standard is. And in terms of advertising, I included some Google Ads benchmark, which I got from this source in the internet, which stated that their average click-through rate, meaning like from all the ads that were seen, how many people actually clicked on them. So Google Ads has an average CTR of 3%, around 3% for the whenever you're searching and you see those, advert sponsor results. And for display, it's much lesser than that. It's actually 0.5%. I'm not entirely sure what's the display ads on Google right now, but either way, it's a pretty low CTR. And in comparison for Brave, they say that they have an average of the number is not in this table, but I guess it was something like 9% on the search results. So it's much higher than the Web2 industry standards, and they also bring some interesting data like an average lift in brand promotion or awareness of 64%, 16% of people remembering seeing the ad somewhere, 50% recalling seeing the Brave ad, and you can just, I think the data speaks for itself. But I guess just the reason that I brought this data here is just I think it reinforces the importance of giving users an option and how that can yield some interesting results. So basically just by requiring you to opt in to see ads, then the people that are seeing the ads are much more interested. I think one hypothesis that I have about that is the ads are pretty much centered around Web3, and I think anyone that uses Brave are also Web3 users. So maybe that's one of the reasons that why these results are up. But I think the fact that they require you to opt in and that they are also rewarding you for watching those ads with the BAT token, I think are also strong factors to consider when analyzing the overall effectiveness of Brave ads.
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing. I mean, I don't know if you guys have ever tried to buy traffic with ads, and it's very difficult, right? Everybody's like, oh, it's so easy, you just turn it on and then there's your traffic. It's like, yeah, it's true, it brings you traffic, but you don't know how relevant the traffic is to you necessarily. And of course, the big tech companies try to solve that by giving you super granular targeting options, which basically, which just shows you how well they know you. So like on Facebook or Google, you can segment the audience pretty well. But I think the users are just so inundated with ads that they end up, just kind of becoming like insensitive to it in a way. So I think that this is definitely a better model. And ideally, I mean, I think your hypothesis is this might be true, yeah, with the Web3 community, but I do know quite a few people that use Brave that aren't in Web3, and I think that just by, I think what you said, like psychologically, if you opt into the ads, that makes a difference, and then just purely that you see a lot fewer of them, I think is already helpful, right? Because then it feels more like signal and less like noise in that experience. But yeah, very, very interesting.
Yeah, I totally agree with with this point you made. I think the ads seem more relevant at least. But yeah, moving on, I'm going to provide some more color to BAT's tokenomics. So I'm going to start in the upper left corner of the diagram on the user. So as I had mentioned, the users opt in on ads that happens on the Brave browser, and then you're just going to see Brave ads. And the program that distributes the rewards is called Brave Rewards. So users will get their BAT whenever they are watching ads. I'm going to explain a little bit more how you can kind of forecast whether you're going to receive more or less depending on the month. It obviously depends on your usage, but depends on some other factors as well. Another cool feature that Brave has is that it allows publishers and creators to get verified in their browser. And what it means to be verified is that you can receive donations from users. So like I'm earning BAT in my browser, I can use a part of that to donate to a publisher or creator that I like. And those publishers and creators can be like YouTube streamers or I think Twitch streamers. And there's a lot of different things, and publishers can be any website that you use. If they verify their account on Brave, then they are allowed to receive these donations. And so part of the protocol's revenue comes from a 5% fee that they are charging over these donations. And then the other, I think, agent that is involved in the Brave ecosystem is the advertiser. So I think one of the gaps that I see in the Brave currently is that advertisers can buy ad space from Brave, from those kinds of ads that I was showing you, but they can't buy directly from a publisher, which is how the regular advertising business works. So that limits a bit more, I think, the how ads can be displayed or purchased. But it's working to at least to some extent, and so advertisers can purchase their ad space using either BAT or US dollars. And what is interesting is that once this revenue goes into the treasury, Brave will use 70% of the advertisement revenue to buy back BAT in centralized exchanges. So it's kind of, I guess you could say it's kind of a growth loop, because the more they grow their advertisement business, the more revenue they will get, obviously, and then the more buybacks will happen on BAT. And this 70% BAT is redistributed to all the users. So, and that's really interesting, because if you go to their, they have, I think, something Brave/growth or something of the kind, where you can actually see how much revenue they are getting each month. And that really correlates to the amount of of rewards that you're getting. Like this month, for example, I noticed that rewards really went up. And if you look into their January figures, their revenue is also going up. So, I think it's a nice way to distribute part of the revenue to users. And the remainder 30%, they are actually using for protocol infrastructure and development, which I think is just healthy, because they have to get their funds from somewhere. And so I think another point to note, and this is where BAT is also a bit limited. To be able to withdraw the BAT you're earning in the browser, you need to use a centralized exchange. And so they currently have agreements with Gemini and Uphold. So you would need to have an account on either of those exchanges to be able to withdraw. For example, I'm in Brazil. I'm not able to withdraw. I can only use BAT in the Brave ecosystem. But if you're able to withdraw, then you can do some other stuff, which I think are interesting utilities for the BAT token. So for example, you could exchange it for gift cards in this STEP network, or if you get them in your wallet, which you need to go through Gemini first, so you can't just withdraw to Brave right away, to the Brave wallet, I mean. Then you can use it, like you would use tokens in other Web3 dApps. So you can make dApp purchases like games or NFTs. You can make DeFi swaps or just earn interest. So I think those are some of the cooler utilities that BAT has to offer. And on top of that, with the Brave wallet, the team has been really focused on developing a partner network. So they had some interesting examples of partnerships. Like I think they had one with Splinterlands, where to enter a given tournament you would need some bet, and then you could also earn prizes in bet, if I'm not mistaken. And I think they also had some partnerships with I think the Nouns DAO, but that was more geared towards advertisement. But anyway, they are really striving to build this partner network to add more utility to the bet token. But that's outside of the Brave ecosystem, at least the way I see it. And that is also dependent on centralized exchanges like Gemini and Uphold. So their growth is kind of limited, at least in terms of utility, on the countries which those exchanges support. So yeah, I think that is the what I wanted to call out from Bet's tokenomics.
Yeah, and if you guys, I hope you guys followed along this diagram. So I tweeted it out while Ariel was talking. And if you want to find a zoomable version of it, then I also posted the link to that. So it's on the tokenomicsdao.xyz website, and then you can go to the 101 articles and you can find the BAT article. And in there, embedded is that zoomable diagram, so it's a little bit easier to read. But yeah, really good summary. And also think it's good that you're calling out kind of the weak points, right? Because I mean, we're doing this analysis generally from a neutral perspective, and we're just trying to find, the good things and the bad things, and we're also trying to think of ways to improve it potentially. Is that something that you're going to cover, Ariel? Kind of some suggestions for improvement?
Yeah, I'll go through that in the value creation and value capture part. I just wanted to call
perfect.
out, since I was already talking about the tokenomics.
Yeah, perfect. No, okay, good. Awesome. Well, keep going.
All right, so now about distribution and liquidity. I think that's kind of a sensitive topic. I don't know, maybe a hot topic for the BAT token, at least for me, the way I see it. So, first, the token was launched in 2017. They had an ICO, which was, quite trendy at the time. And they have a max supply of 1.5 billion BAT tokens, and they put 1 billion BAT for sale, which is, I think, quite a lot, at least for, more based on what I see on more recent protocols that have launched tokens. And the remainder, $500 million, was split across the Brave team, which just to pay for the expenses and continue developing the protocol. And 300 million was put to the user growth pool, which is actually the pool that distributes rewards to users. So they included this 300 million to start with, and then they had some kind of like airdrops, and they were kind of testing out their model. But now that the protocol has been running for some time, the user growth pool gets filled with their advertising revenue, as I mentioned in the previous slide. And what I think is really concerning about BAT is how much the liquidity is concentrated. So if the graph I included here is for external accounts, which is the same as individual wallets. And so what this graph is telling us is that the top 1% of accounts on Brave hold more than 90% of the total BAT supply that is sitting on wallets, just individual wallets. If we take into account the full 1.5 billion BAT supply, then the top 1% external accounts hold, I get 66%, or something close to that. So that is quite a lot. If I don't know who those guys are, I don't know if the team does, maybe they do, but if some of them decide to sell BAT, that would mean significant selling pressure for the token, and it could just collapse the whole system. at least in my view, I don't know, it's quite a significant amount of liquidity for some few people to be holding. I think the top 1% must be like, I think, short of 3,000 accounts. I think they have 300,000 wallets or something like that in total. So, you know, it's not a lot of people. And I guess if we took like the 0.1%, then we would also see some very big liquidity concentration. So I think that's something to be really aware of about the BET token. And the remainder of the liquidity, like 66%, or I guess 70 something percent, is sitting on individual wallets, and the remainder, which is close to 30%, is sitting on exchanges and is mostly concentrated on centralized exchanges. So I don't know if there's some risk on that or not. I hope not, certainly. But I remember the only decentralized exchange where they had some meaningful representation was, I guess, Compound. I'm not sure. I may be confusing it, but there was just this one where I think, you know, because of their partner network, they have placed some liquidity, but they haven't really taken this step of providing liquidity to decentralized exchanges. So I think that's another important point to call out.
So just asking, so basically on this slide with the distribution and liquidity, in the bottom left, the graph from Dune Analytics, that's the one that shows how much liquidity is held by the top 1%, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So percentage of, so how do I read? Oh, percentage of accounts. Okay, all the way on the right is 1. So that means 1%, and then percentage of supply. That looks like it's almost what, like 90+%?
Yeah, I think it's
Is
92.
92. Okay, yeah, because it looks like an empty chart at
Oh
first, and
yeah.
you have to understand how to read it. Okay, so 1% of accounts has 92% of all the tokens. Yeah, that's not ideal, right? I mean, you said it's like 3,000 wallets in the top 1%. I mean, that's still a significant amount of wallets, but yeah, who knows? I mean, it would be good to know if there's like unlocks or lockups still in place on some of these, or if it's, if there's another reason, or if there's another reason why these wallets can't move them or sell them. That would probably be important to know.
Yeah, I think there are no more lockups because, you know, it's been a while since they launched, and I
Yeah.
don't recall whether they place any lockups, to be honest.
Okay. But is there a history of founders or like early wallets to move or dump a bunch of token, or not really?
That's a good question. I actually don't know the answer.
Yeah, because I mean, it's completely different story, but like the Ethereum Foundation is known to pretty much call the top every time. So they, whenever they start selling a chunk of ETH, you know that you should probably, you know, close your long position or whatever if you're a trader. So they time it pretty well, or maybe they're the reason why it tops out. Nobody knows. But so I don't know if there's a similar history here. But yeah, good to call it out for sure.
Great. So now going through the value creation and value capture. First, value creation on the left. I think, you know, their product stack is just awesome. They have built a really robust set of products, and you can do almost anything that you can do on Google Chrome, for example, on Brave, and with their own products which are always trying to preserve your privacy or give you more choice in a way, which I at least really like this vision. They are also trying to build a new economic model for user attention. I think we can't understate the challenge and also the ambition of doing that, because you go from all your data being captured and used against your view, or like you have almost zero control, to you being in control and being rewarded for choosing to see ads. So I guess that's pretty amazing. I really like that way of thinking. And just added some interesting data here. They were able to get to 55 million monthly active users in the 4 years since the protocol was created, and they also have 20 million daily active users. So they're probably the most used Web3 protocol there is. They have 2 million verified creators. I think the top um, kind of channels where these creators come from are YouTube and probably Twitch. I'm not sure about Twitch, but YouTube I'm certain. And they also have the wallet partner program, which is adding a lot of cool utility for bet holders, and is mostly centered around the Solana ecosystem. I think there are some Ethereum partnerships as well, but I know from reading their blog that they have been more focused on building Solana. Um, and now for the value capture, they have the transaction fee on donations, which is 5%. Their advertising revenue is the biggest source of revenue. They also charge some fees on Brave Wallet swaps. So if you're using their wallet for this kind of operation, then the fees are also going to the treasury. And they are buying 70% of their ad revenue. They're buying back back. And so I think one takeaway from the value capture side is that it seems to me that the biggest demand driver for bet and bet price is Brave's own buybacks, which are correlated to their advertising revenue. So, it can be good, but it can be bad, because if their advertising business starts going sour, then that means, there's going to be less demand for bet and less reward for users. So that could lead to a downwards spiral. It hasn't happened so far, uh, but I think it's a risk, especially when we look at the liquidity distribution, which is highly concentrated on a few hands, and mostly individual wallets, which could dump the token at any time, as far as I know. And so I think my main takeaway when after analyzing BET was that these guys really need to add more utility to their token and improve the holdability overall, if they want to just be less vulnerable to market sentiment, because we all know that market sentiment can shift dramatically in a very quick way. And so I think I really like everything that they're doing, but I feel that their token is quite vulnerable to shift in sentiment because of the way it was designed, which in my view doesn't have a lot of utility. They're trying to add that, but it's kind of separate, and they have this big dependence on centralized exchanges, which I think is really bad, especially now with everything that's been happening since in the last few months. Like I think it's a bit hard to think that these exchanges will expand rapidly to other nations at least. But yeah, I think cool product, not so good token. That's why they even have a sort of weak token strength rating in our tokenomics hub, because there's not a lot of reason to hold unless you're trying to time their advertising revenue, because the token is can go a bit more up whenever they are earning more. But even so, that's not a reason to hold. You would probably be trading that that metric, not holding the token, waiting for something to happen.
So what would you do to fix it?
I think for me, the biggest piece that is missing is to connect the advertisers to publishers. Like, I think if they really set up a real advertising marketplace where publishers could, list their ad space and advertisers could buy that, and then, require that purchase being made in bet, or maybe, I don't know, requiring that publishers or advertisers stake some bet to be able to use the marketplace. I think something of that kind could be a step towards improving token holdability. But I don't know if that would solve. I think liquidity is still the biggest issue here.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, but it's a good idea. Yeah, what else? I mean, if you would token gate the browser, then that kind of defeats the point, right? Because the problem is with any ad-based business model, you do need eyeballs, right? Even if the eyeballs are private, you need to get as many active users as possible, so you wouldn't want to lock them out in any way.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, cool. Are there any questions? Any of you guys have a question for Ariel about Brave browser or anything tokenomics specific in general? Feel free to request to speak. I'm more than happy to answer any questions you might have. Yeah, Brave product. I mean, it's difficult, right? So like this idea that we have in Web3 that we want to have people own their own data and not be exploited, kind of like Web2 companies like to do for profit. It's difficult to break that model, right? Because in a way it's much easier to do the exploiting than it is to do the maintain privacy and reward people, but at the same time. I think as an advertiser you want a captured audience in a way, and I guess Google Chrome is used by more than 1 billion people, probably more, maybe 2 billion, I don't know. So yeah, it's hard to compete.
Yeah. Yeah, and if you think about it, the advertising model has been built for decades, and this new paradigm is quite recent. So
Yeah.
I think it has a lot to go through to really mature. And it's harder.
Yeah.
I think in essence, it is harder, as you mentioned.
Yeah, I'm wondering if there's something there where we kind of, so I guess what's really the point of a creator becoming certified or verified by Brave? Like what benefits does that bring?
Currently, they are just able to receive donations from users.
Okay, yeah. See, I wonder if there is a way that Brave browser could almost be a distribution channel for verified creators, and so like I don't know if the artists maybe do, in these spaces where they're also showing ads, like when you open a new tab before you enter URL, maybe they could showcase content from creators, and maybe that's a way they can gain traction. And if that works, then it could become something where, if that works to help creators make money, then it could also be something that Brave could essentially tax and have another revenue stream. So similar, I guess, similar to the donations, but rather than like donations is fine, but like if it's like an active revenue stream, it's a little bit more powerful, I think. Kind of like more like payment processing at that point, So yeah, well, one more chance to request to speak and ask a question. Otherwise, Ariel, if you have any closing remarks, please feel free.
Yeah, so if there are no further questions, I guess, just to wrap this up, I think I highly recommend using Brave as your browser. I'm personally trying to be more concerned about my privacy and not share as much data, or at least share a bit less, because you still be sharing data with the websites that you're using. So I think, from a product perspective, I love Brave, and I also want to start using their other products a bit more. I think the Brave search, from what I read, has some interesting features that they've added in that, which I haven't seen in other search engines, for example. I haven't used Brave Talk yet, but I'll definitely try that out someday. But from a token perspective, I think the tokenomics is not so strong. So if you're thinking of investing in Brave, just obviously do your own research, but also keep in mind that they have a highly concentrated liquidity, and there are not a lot of reasons to hold the BET token currently. So in my view, it is kind of vulnerable to shifts in market sentiment. And sorry, I think I said that 3 or 4 times already, so I'll just stop there. I think that's my summary and what I want everyone to take away from this presentation.
Yeah, perfect. All right. Yeah, if you're interested in Brave or other tokens, let me say one more time, please feel free to visit the Tokenomics Hub. You can find it in our bio, or you can just go to tokenomicshub.xyz. There is about 30 something protocols listed right now, and you can see kind of the quick breakdown of how we and Tokenomics DAO community thinks that these tokens shake out, the tokenomics of these tokens shake out. Awesome. Yeah, thank you so much, Ariel. It's super insightful. I learned something, and we recorded this space, and we'll also send it out to our subscribers on Substack.
Awesome. Thanks, Lovis, and thanks to all our listeners.